Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about Olaf Reroll, which is a comp that a lot of people have began to acknowledge the existence of, but very few people actually know how to play. It's one that is quite simple in its approach, but can be very flexible in its execution. And there's a lot of different ways you can play it by the end of the game. So let's talk about the first part of this comp, which is Olaf himself. Olaf, in the place of a traditional ability, has two unique passive. The first is that he heals on each attack. This amount isn't like that crazy, but it works really well with the second passive, which is gaining increased attack speed with each percent missing health. This attack speed scales with his maximum health. The higher his maximum health is, the more attack speed he will gain at each percent missing health. It's a flat amount. In essence, these two passives turn him into a really strong drain tank. Now let's talk about items. Olaf, I'd say, has two BIS items and a very flexible third slot. The two items I'd deem BIS are Titans and Sterax. Titans just gives Olaf every stat that he wants, including the AP, which can be used to increase his healing. And then everything else is just good. He naturally ramps through the fight, so you'll pretty much always get max value from it. The second item is Sterax, which just gives him a ton of health and a ton of AD, which are his two most important stats. And that health also increases his attack speed. So it's a very good stat check item and is a pretty big reason why you're able to win streak throughout stage 3 if you have it. The third item slot is rather flexible. It just depends on your leftover components, what augments you hit, what your board is missing. In the third row, I have it in, I'd say, my order of priority from left to right. I say Runeans is my favorite third item just because its effects are pretty unique. It's hard to replace and it contribute a lot to a snowball and it helps a lot, at least in the early game. Later on, it's still pretty decent because it can help him get a pentacle faster. It can help with some pathing issues. And it's just hard. You can't replace it with like other augments. So it's a pretty nice thing to have. BT is a good item. It gives healing. I think it's not that important unless you have the first your BIS items because if you're not doing a lot of damage, you're not healing that much. But the shield is also nice. It scales with like Boozer, so it is a definitely a good item. Uh, QSS, CC immunity is nice. You don't want him to get CC'd early on. Yeah. Evan Shroud, Edge of Night, GS, all have nice value. I would say Ginsu is a bit of a bait item because Olaf is already getting a lot of attack speed from other sources. So he'll hit the attack speed cap pretty easily, but the amount that Ginsu is actually contributing isn't actually that much compared to some of these other items. As for the artifacts, I would say they're all okay. Uh, those I don't have in order. Like they're all okay. I wouldn't really care about having a artifact on Olaf. They're not much better than other items are on him. If anything, I might prefer an artifact on your secondary carry than to Olaf himself, just because the artifact effects are maybe marginally better than a normal item. Like I think I would probably prefer BT to Death Stance. I would probably prefer Sterax to Hullbreaker. Uh, Triforce might be about power neutral to Sterax on Olaf. I don't know. So there's two strategies for playing the early game. That is to either get lucky and hit Olaf Headliner early. Either of them is fine, and I'll talk about that later. To also hit a BIS item early. If you don't have either of those things, you can opt to lose streak. You will remain low level anyway because you're going to be rolling for Olaf after Krugs. On Carousel, you can try to get a priority component for one of your two preferred items. While loose streaking, you want to play for the shown level 5 board with 4 Bruiser and 3 Pentakill, Tom Kench or Gnar, depending on which headliner you have. After Krugs, you're going to roll down to 34. If you're close to Olaf 3, you just roll for Olaf 3. If you're not, you just econ to 50 and then you slow roll for it. Starting stage 3, you want to be considering what your secondary carry will be. For the most part, this will be something in the 8P line, as those are going to be the components you're most likely to be left with. Uh, your AP items can be slammed onto kill for the short term, But there is a world where you play Kale 3, so I would look to upgrade her and hold on to additional copies. If you do opt into the Kale line, your items don't matter that much. You just want a lot of AP and some healing. You're gonna get enough attack speed from Edgelord and from Pentakill anyway. And personally, AP is a bit better, at least with this board where you have a single target in Olaf. So having some AoE is pretty nice. To fill out your board with either Olaf Headliner, you just play Viego plus one Edgelord and then either six Bruiser or five Pentakill, depending on what trait Olaf has doubled. Another popular secondary carry is playing around the Karthus Akali line. Like with the kill line, you're either playing around 6 Bruiser or 5 Pentakill. Karthus as a unit wants at least one mana item and then just raw damage. There's also the option to drop out of 5 Pentakill down to 3, and instead you play 4 Executioner with Samira Vex. Another decent pairing is with Twisted Fate and Disco. Disco, it has a lot of innate synergy with Bruisers and especially Olaf. And then TF is just a good holder of AP items. Tactical Headliner gives you a little bit more creative freedom by removing the option for a 6 Bruiser. In exchange, you have an extra slot so you can play around with it. As for your other options, I'll just call the rest AP soup. Basically, you can just pick whatever backline synergies fit whatever remaining slots you have. You can put in Hyper Pop, you can put in Spellweaver, you can put in whatever. For augments, you generally want to be looking at triple cotton augments just because you want as much power in your Olaf and your secondary carry as possible. The rest of your board is tanky, but not a lot of actual damage, so you want anything to boost the few carries that you will have. A couple econ augments I would say are acceptable. Include Trade Sector. Uh, it's just it's like a slow rolling augment, so it's nice to have in the early game, and then more so in the later game as you're just pushing levels and slowly rolling for whatever you hit. A couple others that are okay are like Rich Gets Richer, Hedge Fund. Those are acceptable because more often than not, you'll have enough gold after rolling down to still have like 40 gold or 50 gold, and you'll have your all off three, so you can start pushing levels. Uh, yeah, a lot of the other ones I would kind of avoid, like something like Lake Specialist. I would kind of avoid uh, go back Breathtaking Resonance, etc. Good combat augments, too big to fall. That's known. Like obviously that's very good. Uh, if you have some gloves, like those is takeable. Learn to spell specifically with Kale Reroll is not bad. Stationary support variants are usually quite good. Item augments like Buried Treasure, Sleight of Hand, uh, Salvage Bin, those are all takeable. Both types of scaling augments, so like in combat scaling, like Ascension variants, or like health scaling, like Vampirism, those are usually really good with this comp. Generic ones like tons of stats, Gifts of the Fallen, not bad. Gargantuan Resolve, actually quite good considering you can go double Titans with this, and all just has enough stats. Impenetrable Bulwark on a bruiser is very nice. You just have like full items on a unit. You just put that unit like probably set easiest to 2-star, and then also possible 3-star. You put that in front of Olaf, and he'll last a really long time. QSS augments are good. Little Bubbles can be pretty good. Yeah, my bow is takeable. Last Stand is insane with bruisers and Olaf, and probably whatever secondary, tertiary carry you're playing. Support cash. Epitaph is acceptable if you can make it so that a lot of them will proc onto Olaf, and this helps them a lot. Blister Sykes, generic good. Jeweled Lotus. Not for Olaf specifically. I mean, he doesn't have an ability that crits. Crit chance isn't like terrible on him, but it's not that useful. But for secondary carries, especially if you're playing like Karthus Akali, very nice to have. Time assist is nice. Healing orbs less nice, but it's takeable. New recruit is insane. So yeah, that's all I've got. I'm surprised that no one's really talked about this comp, considering everyone like had it on their mind, but no one's really gone out of their way to explore it. Hopefully, I'll be a little faster in making these videos so the knowledge can go out a bit faster. Until next time, see you all.